Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Mannheim Steamroller brings its Christmas concert to Strathmore in North Bethesda, Maryland on Saturday night. I spoke with drummer Tom Sharpe about the band's revolutionary holiday tunes, from Deck the Halls to Carol of the Bells.
Hi, Jason. This is Tom Sharpe, and I am with the group Mannheim Steamroller. I play the drums and percussion.
And we're talking, of course, because Mannheim Steamroller is coming to Strathmore on Saturday, December 4th for a Christmas show. It's going to be you all playing the album basically that started it all, at least Christmas-wise for you all. It was called Christmas back in 1984. So what can we expect? Is this the album played straight through?
We are going to play that first Christmas album, yes, straight through. And I have to tell you before we get any further that us in the group that have been to Strathmore, we put a star on this date on our calendars that this is a highlight show for us. It is when we walk into that theater, it is just breathtaking. So it's a real a special treat for us to be coming back to Strathmore. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. When you walk into that space and you look around, breathtaking is a good word for it. It's if anyone hasn't been up there to North Bethesda and checked it out, man, it is a premier place to play. Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
Yes, we have at least one new member that we've already been saying you're not going to believe this place when you get there. So we're really looking forward to it. Yes, we are going to play the entire first Christmas album, and along with of course other highlights from the other Mannheim Steamroller albums. And actually, Chip just very recently remastered that first Christmas album for a special 35th anniversary release. So that's he did a vinyl pressing and a CD remaster. So it's really special for us to play that music. It's been it's been a tradition for so many people for 35 years now, and it's just really a wonderful thing to be a part of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Chip, you mentioned Chip. That's Chip Davis, the founder of the group. I would like to get into the founding of the band in a second, but while we're on the Strathmore part of it, remind us what all songs were on that first Christmas album. It was, I think it went like 6 times platinum or something crazy. But remind us, especially the opening track, "Deck the Halls." That's still played like on the radio every Christmas, all over the place.
Yeah, and so we have "Deck the Halls" on there, and "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen." Of course, "Silent Night" is on there, and the first time it's really it's something to kind of go back to the first time you might have heard those pieces, whether it was 1984 or if you're not that old yet and you've heard it later, but when you think back to the first time that you heard that work, and it was revolutionary. It's nowadays a lot of groups have Christmas albums, and there are a lot of different touring companies or whatever that play Christmas shows. But back then, this really kind of revolutionized a whole genre of music, that you heard that for the first time, and it's like, what was that? I need to hear that again. It was like, it's one of those albums where you kind of remember where you were when you heard it. It's that it has that effect on people. So that for me, when it came out, I was a youth, and now to be on the side of it, that we're continuing to spread this joy and to share this with audiences. This is 36 years later now is really remarkable.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned, it's funny. I mean, that's a great point. You mentioned that, in 1984, try to transport your mind back to then, and how revolutionary it was. Cause we've all heard it so many times. It's almost like a standard we hear annually at the holidays. But talk about how back then, like musically, it was groundbreaking. And I guess tell me something about like the instrumentation. The 80s were big for that synth stuff, and that Deck the Halls, you can really hear that 80s that sound.
Yeah, I think one of the strengths of the music and what makes it so one of a kind is the unique instrumentation between the synthesized parts and and all the orchestral instrumentation too. Chip's background is as a classical bassoonist. So he's that was his I believe that was his university training. So he's bringing in all sorts of different genres and styles to make this, really a unique thing that really before this, I mean, it was like Bing Crosby and Elvis, I mean, that's what was going on Christmas wise. And then for this to come in and to be mixing all those different instruments together, that's one of the things that when you come to this show is really something that is remarkable is to see all of this, how it translates to a live setting with with all of us in the group. There are 6 of us that are the touring band, and then we are surrounded by an orchestra, and to see it in action is really quite something, because there's not a one of us that's just playing one instrument. We all have multiple things to do, and we're switching back and forth between traditional instruments, electronic instruments, and it really is it's a sight, as well as something to listen to, a sonic experience.
Absolutely. Sonic experience. I love that phrasing of it. And you mentioned that, in addition to playing that first album, Christmas, and playing that all the way through, you're also going to play some hits, from your other Christmas stuff. I assume that will include the song off the next album after that, Carol of the Bells. I mean, we hear that all the time. Like, it's one of the most famous versions of that. Is that going to be the ones in the set?
We will bring you the hits for sure. One of the great things about working with Chip is that he always is a forward thinking guy. He's always putting new things in our set and keeping it fresh. But there's a definite balance there between let's bring in some new music because the new stuff is cool, and let's make sure that we are playing what people are coming there for and expecting to hear. So yeah, we'll have Carol of the Bells in there, and all the ones that you are hopefully looking forward to.
Make your case for your version, Mannheim Steamroller's version of Carol of the Bells. Make the case of why it's one of the best versions.
Well, I guess it depends on who you are. I really for me as the drummer, I mean, that's a very challenging piece for me. It's high energy. There's a lot going on, and so to play a piece like that is a highlight in the show for me. I actually look forward to playing all of the pieces, whether they're the high energy or they're the more introspective, reflective type pieces. But again, I think it does go back to how did that piece sound before Chip did it, and so you have to think about the just creative process of Chip and Mannheim being a real reason that piece and the music as a whole has been this staple in people's lives for so many years.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned Chip Davis. Before we run, tell me a little bit about how the band was formed originally. Like, I know it was originally before the Christmas stuff. There was a whole series of albums under the Fresh Air label. Explain sort of those early days.
Yeah, I mean, Chip has let's see, it's 8 albums that are called Fresh Air, and they are Fresh Air 1 through 8. And he also has, it's when you look at his catalog, I mean, it's really mind-boggling to see, just the amount of material that he has. But there was a good about 9-10 year period before the Christmas music came out, that these Fresh Air albums, which is all original material, were doing extremely well. And then so it didn't really come out of nowhere in 1984 when the Christmas album came out, but that really did elevate it for sure to a higher level of people's awareness. But the Fresh Air albums are highly successful. I think Fresh Air 7 won a Grammy, and we will occasionally throw in some of those pieces as well along the way, depending on what year it is. We will put in some of those things to remind you that it's not all just Christmas.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I know Chip was, I believe he was the drummer back in the day as well as the founder. What year did you join the group?
I joined the group in 2008. So it was long successful before I joined, and now looking back on that, I'm one of the veterans now. So it's pretty amazing, to have come in and now all of a sudden I'm not one of the new guys anymore. But it's amazing, these tours that we do and the audiences that we have, it's parents bringing their kids, and now their kids bringing their kids, and so it really has, it just has transcended. It's like timeless music. It's just gonna go on forever, because it's that good. So really, it's us, the musicians that are fortunate to be creating that music now, and it's just an honor to be a part of it.
For sure. Now will Chip be there?
Chip does not tour with us anymore. So he'll we do video presentations and things, and so he'll say hi in that way. Depending on, I don't think he'll be at Strathmore, but depending on where it is in the country and what he's doing, he will come and say hi sometimes. But he actually goes down to Universal Studios in Orlando, and he conducts an orchestra and band doing the music of Mannheim Steamroller there during the holiday season. So he's still very active in everything that we do. He's, we just saw him just 2 days ago at one of our rehearsals. So he still is really, he's the mastermind behind the whole thing. But the reason that he doesn't tour anymore, and some of the guys that, the founding members, that don't necessarily want to be on a bus anymore, allows us, the generation younger, to have the privilege of playing this music and keeping that tradition alive. So it's actually a very it's something that none of us take for granted. Is we know that this is a tradition for everybody, and it's up to us to keep that to keep that high level going. So we know that we're part of something very special here, and nobody takes it for granted for a minute.
Oh, absolutely. And in terms of the band's legacy, you mentioned that, when you guys were doing this stuff in the 80s, it was instrumental stuff, but it was like no one had ever heard. Like you said before, it was Bing Crosby and Sinatra and Elvis and stuff like that. Do you think the legacy, do you think that there would not be other groups, all your Trans-Siberian Orchestras, all the other sort of groups that followed after doing Christmas music? Do you think you sort of paved the way for that?
I try not to think about too many, what other groups are doing, because I think there's room for everyone in the world. But certainly, imitation is the best form of flattery, right? Is that what they say?
Yeah, that's the line.
So, So, I think that absolutely you can't help but have been inspired and influenced by Mannheim Steamroller. So, it's not necessarily like, that I don't think anybody thinks that we're being copied or anything, but it is, I'm sure that the groups that have come along more recently have been inspired by it. It's, how can you not?
Yeah, you sort of open the floodgates for sure.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It's gonna be really exciting to see the show. Again, it's the Mannheim Steamroller Christmas. Gonna come to the beautiful Strathmore Saturday, December 4th, and there's 2 shows too. So when you're getting your tickets, you can either go at 2 p.m. or 7 p.m. So I guess in closing, speak directly to our listeners and explain why bring the family, why should you come out, get in holiday spirit.
Well, we look at each one of these shows as if it is our only date on the calendar. So, I mean, what you're going to see is, what's the difference between coming to one of our concerts and listening to the CD? When you come to one of our shows, you're going to see every one of us on stage, our whole group and our whole orchestra. You're going to see, every one of us putting forth the energy as if it was the only show that we play all year. And so to listen to the music on CD and to go, I wonder how they're going to pull that off. Well, you just have to come to see.
Awesome. Again, it's December 4th at Strathmore. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you, Jason. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, sir.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.